Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin.
I'm Ray.
And we're on a couch. We got a wall. We got mics. Let's go. This is our official first podcast where we look official.
We are big kid podcasters now.
Yes. And we got some news for you. We have to talk about how Taika has actually turned in a couple of drafts for his Star Wars movie.
Super excited that's happening.
Yes, and Guillermo Del Toro was going to make a film about Jabba the Hutt. That is very
that is very intriguing.
Yes, and then the future of Star Wars. What's going on with it? With the whole strike thing going on? We'll get down to it. Ray, I'm going to lead. I was going to say, let me do it. But yeah, okay, cool. All right. So
we're so professional.
Yes. So Taika has turned in a couple of scripts for his film. And this is a quote from Jeff Snyder from the Hot Mic. He said, it's not dead. Taika has turned in multiple drafts at this point, and other writers as well have touched it. Taika owes them one more draft after the strike is over. Again, we don't know what era that script will take in. We don't know if it will deal with the Skywalker saga. I personally hope not. I hope it's its own thing. But with the history of the type of films that Taika makes, we know it would be serious, but it would also be funny at the same time. How do we feel about that going into Star Wars? Because we've had some projects like that, but nothing like what Taika has done.
I feel like Star Wars is in need of just like a happy, fun, no strings attached kind of a film. Okay. Which is kind of how Thor: Love and Thunder felt.
Yes.
Where it's in the universe, but it's its own independent thing as well, and it doesn't take itself seriously, and there's no like big stakes involved.
Yeah.
Which I think was the biggest complaint that it got, because it was so different from everything else. So I feel like that might happen with his Star Wars film if it is like that. But I don't know. I think it'd be nice for a change.
Yeah.
Something that's just really lighthearted. There's no like world-ending events happening. There's no saving the world. It's just a fun, happy adventure.
Right. And the way that Star Wars is going right now is we really are going into a kind of different direction. Did you watch the new episode of Ahsoka?
Yes, I did.
Thank God. Okay. So with that being said, that felt like Star Wars, but it was also like different.
Yes.
And of just the environment, the vibe of it. And I know the episode that we got before was great. It was fantastic. It was a Clone Wars. It was wonderful. I felt like a child again. It was great. But I like when Star Wars goes in a different direction, because you're adding lore to the whole Star Wars universe and to something that we love and adore so much. And there's a film coming out by James Mangold, which I'm super excited about, which the age of the film is The Dawn of the Jedi, which I think would be a great name for the film in general. But that takes place 26,000 years before the events of the entire Skywalker saga. And that's kind of like it's going to feel like a biblical film about the light side and the dark side, and I want more stuff like that. When that film was pitched at Star Wars Celebration, I was like, I'm hooked, because to me, not everything is black and white. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of gray area, and that's why we got an Andor, because when people think, oh, it's the Rebel Alliance, it's like they're the good guys, but you watch Andor and you're like, they've done some
everybody's got skeletons in the closet.
Yes. So I would love to see more stuff like that. And Taika doing Thor, Jojo Rabbit, Black Sails, like those kind of.
Not Black Sails.
No.
Our Flag Means Death.
Thank you.
Those are both pirate shows. Queer pirate shows.
Yeah.
However, Black Sails is like Game of Thrones-esque.
Okay.
So they're very different.
Okay. So I I'm excited, but having that kind of humor in Star Wars is very different, which is fine. I'm just curious of how it's going to work into it. What's your dream, like, what's your dream project for Star Wars besides Sabe? Like,
I think, okay, just on a little side note from that, I think it would be so funny to get like a Parks and Rec office style sitcom with the handmaidens.
Okay.
Like, nothing serious.
Okay.
Just like like if you had like Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
On the in and outs of the Senate.
Yes.
Do you know how funny that would be?
Yeah. Yeah. It would be. It's just some people like to take Star Wars very seriously. So the only thing I fear is people would be like, this can't be canon. There's no way.
But Padme is Leslie Knope and Sabe is April Ludgate. Prove me wrong. Anyway, continue. I don't know. I think the sort of biblical-esque storyline is very intriguing. I like the idea because in The Force Awakens, when Rey first hears about like the Jedi and rebellion and all that stuff, she thought that they were a myth.
Yeah.
So even though that's a pretty small time span, I would really like to know what the people in this universe, like within the Skywalker saga, what stories they grew up with that are, like they now think are myths. Like who are their like old historical figures, and like who are legends to them.
I love that you brought that up because in the newest episode of Ahsoka, Balin was talking about how the planet of Paradia was kind of turned into a fairy tale. And a lot of Jedi grew up not really believing in it, and they were just like, oh, like it's there, but it's just a fairy tale. It's a bedtime story. And I love the element of Star Wars just because there's more out there. There is more than Tatooine. There's more than Coruscant and Naboo and all that. There's a whole other galaxy. This new planet that we got in the newest episode of Ahsoka is in a different galaxy, undiscovered to us. And I love that element. I want that to be more explored. And if they do that in Taika's film, go for it. Just don't do anything with the Skywalker saga. That's my thing. Don't do anything else with the Skywalker saga. Please don't. Like I have loved everything with Rey. I loved everything with Luke, but don't do it anymore. Do something else, please. We need new content. I don't want to just do more stuff and change things like they did with Luke, because to me they changed everything in The Last Jedi.
I hate to break it to you, but Ahsoka falls into the Skywalker saga.
Right, but we're not. So here's the thing, though, is that Luke and them weren't, main side characters, right? Like Luke does appear in the Book of Boba Fett, but that is original trilogy Luke.
So you don't want so much the Skywalker characters. You don't
Correct.
care about the timeline.
Timeline is fine.
Yes.
Skywalker characters, just let them be.
Now, would you be okay with like a mention of like General Organa said whatever? You don't see her on screen.
Right. So okay, I know there's a new movie coming out with Rey where it takes 15 years after. That's fine. Don't let it be episode 9. I mean, don't let it be episode 10. Mm-hmm. Just let it be its own thing, because these characters, I think, need to retire. I'm not talking about Rey. I'm talking about like Han, Luke, and Leia from that time period. Just because if they do anything with them going forward in Mandalorian and Ahsoka and stuff, to me that's okay, because it's going off of what we had in the original trilogy, and you're slowly moving into what they did in Force Awakens. It's just with the sequel trilogy, and I know you probably feel different, is that I really felt like they, especially in The Last Jedi, they changed a lot of the character's background. They didn't need to. And Luke didn't feel like Luke. Leia did feel like Leia, but to me, it was just the actors were there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I think what would be important to consider about the I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think with Luke, it's a little hard to tell because he went through something traumatic with Ben, and you never know how that's going to affect you. So, because people come out the other side of trauma like completely different people.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell exactly how he would have handled that.
Absolutely.
So it's all up to interpretation. But I do understand that a lot of people don't think he would have reacted that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not something that's out of the question that would happen. But
right. And that's why I don't want to have these discussions anymore because I want to focus on new content with new characters. And for example, Andor was perfect because we didn't get a Darth Vader cameo. We didn't get, and again, seeing Anakin, seeing Anakin last week, my whole timeline has been messed up. Yes. So seeing Anakin last week was just, it was breathtaking. It was wonderful. And they did it in such a tasteful way. And they didn't really add anything. Like, everything that we saw was stuff that we already knew.
Yeah.
When you're doing something with Luke Skywalker and you're bringing him into the Mandalorian season 2, and then you bring him into the Book of Boba Fett, you have the risk of changing the character a lot, or you have the chance to add on something that is so familiar. Because what they did in The Last Jedi was, to me, I just didn't, the situation of where he saw what his nephew was going to do was difficult for me, because he brought Darth Vader, the most darkest human being in the galaxy, back to the light side. Why wouldn't he apply that situation to his nephew?
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing. It's like he didn't learn anything. And to me, that's not what George Lucas's vision was. And as much as I love Rian Johnson, to me, that just felt like something to throw in there. And it's unfortunate, and I've gotten over it, and people don't like me when I talk about it, but I just feel so strong about the character. And when you change a character that has been established for over 40 years, it's a very difficult thing to do. So there. Oh, hang on.
We have a comment.
There's no way Colin is actually on my side wanting new stuff for Star Wars. Yes. I want new content. I really do. There's so much opportunity, and there's so many things to explore in the Star Wars universe. So I say, do it. Let's see it. Kind of stay away from stuff that we already know. If you add on a tiny bit to it, that's fine, but just don't be like, here's the whole, kind of new story about Luke Skywalker. Yeah. Yeah. So that is my thing. But if someone was to do it, if someone was to add another story to Luke Skywalker's legacy, Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni would be the person to do it. Because to me, that's the main reason why Ahsoka and all the other shows that Dave Filoni has done so great, and it's because he was like essentially the apprentice to George Lucas.
Yeah,
and he knows how George Lucas would do things, and I think that's why the shows are so successful.
They have the same feel.
Yes,
it's just
like
a comfort show or comfort food.
Right.
It's familiar.
Right.
It works.
Yeah.
But it's also still really unique.
Yeah.
He has a weird balance. Do you think all his power comes from his hat?
Well, every time someone tries and takes his hat or kind of takes off his hat and tries to wear it, he does it right away. So
I think all of his power comes from his hat.
Yeah.
He can never lose that hat.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nope. The hat's power. But
that is my canon.
Oh, okay.
His hat comes. Dave Filoni's power comes from his hat. You heard it here first.
Okay. So the Jabba the Hutt film.
Yes. So, Guillermo Del Toro revealed he was going to be directing a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And had been working on it with the Dark Knight's David S. Goyer. They had I think they have a bit of a script together. Yeah. So there's like a script treatment. So there's like a idea, but it's a little more developed.
Okay.
For a Jabba the Hutt movie. And my question is would that be like dark and heavy mobsters? Because like I don't know much of Guillermo Del Toro's work, but a lot of it's like dark and spooky.
Yeah.
He's like crafted that.
So if they're doing a Jabba the Hutt movie, it would be, to me, I think it would have to be connected to Solo in some way. Or honestly, here's my thing. I'm kind of glad that they didn't go through it, just because the fact that I think they should just do an underworld movie, and that's what they kind of did with the show Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. That's basically what of what that show was it was trying to show you the side of the underworld that we haven't really discovered yet. And then there was a game coming out called 1313, and that was going to be like a whole underworld thing as well. So if they do it, I want to see more of the underworld. But there's another game coming out called Star Wars Outlaws, and that's honestly the underworld of Star Wars during the events between Empire and Return of the Jedi. But a Jabba the Hutt movie, here's the main question. Would we get Stinky, his son, from the Clone Wars?
You'd have to.
Yeah.
You can't not. If you have a movie about Jabba and you don't include his kid, and also if you introduce his kid further into canon, you bring up a lot of weird questions.
Well, again, he was shown, I think, in 2 or 3 episodes of the Clone Wars TV show, and then he was in the Clone Wars movie, and then we didn't get anything. And I thought the perfect opportunity for his return was going to be in the Book of Boba Fett, because, we haven't heard from him. He was not in the original trilogy. We didn't get anything from him in the Aftermath novels. So I'm just like, what happened to Jabba's son? Boom. He rolls up in the streets of Mos Espa and he challenges Boba Fett. That would have been perfect.
Yeah. So what if it's not really a Jabba the Hutt movie? What if it's Stinky coming back to steal his father's rightful place back
from?
And then you have your mobsters and they're arguing, you're fighting families. And they all have New York accents. Okay.
So here's my thing. At that point, that would just be season 2 of it would be season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. That would be the plot of where he's trying to take that from Boba.
About a second season of Book of Boba Fett.
No, I'm not. Just don't make it season 3.5 of Mandalorian. Yeah, don't do that, please. Someone has a comment. I think it goes back to what we were talking about. Facebook user says, like The Boys has a spin-off show coming. We also had the Fantastic Beast movies from Harry Potter, but I've always wondered what it would be like to have a movie that's just coming of age story that just so happens to take place on a planet in the Star Wars universe. So we are getting a show very similar to that. It got pushed back, unfortunately, and that is Skeleton Crew. I'm a big fan of what that show is going to be. It's going to feel like The Goonies. It's going to feel like E.T., and it's the second most expensive show ever made in history. And it hasn't, we really haven't been told why, but my guess is because they're going back to practical effects of how movies used to be made.
Yeah, I've seen them doing that bit by bit, especially in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I honestly prefer the puppets to CGI.
Same.
It feels a lot more natural. It looks better. the actors can interact with them instead of a man in a green or blue suit.
Yeah.
It feels more real, and especially with the quality of puppets that they have nowadays.
Yeah.
They move differently, and it just brings another dimension to it that CGI just doesn't capture.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that's the reason why it's so expensive, then I think we'd be in for a treat.
Yeah. I think the other great thing is those type of effects is what really put Star Wars on the map. Because at the time when they were filming A New Hope, no one was really doing that, and they pulled people who had stop motion experience, which basically these guys were kids that just had an old camera, and they just made claymation stop motion with different things. And George Lucas was like, I like these guys, let's have them come in. And the effects were great, people fell in love with them, and they continued to do it. And then all of a sudden in the 1990s it kind of fell off, and they started to mainly use digital special effects. So I would really love to see that in Skeleton Crew, and maybe have them do it. And I mean, I guarantee you this movie's probably not happening. If I'm wrong, that's fine, but I don't think the Jabba the Hutt movie is happening.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
Honestly, I feel like it would be a pretty hard sell.
Okay.
I mean, Jabba is interesting, but I don't know that I want to watch a full movie of Hutts.
Okay.
Because they don't speak English.
And I feel like we got most of the Hutt history. Well, not the Hutt history, but I think we've got a lot of Hutt content in the Clone Wars, because there are a decent amount of arcs that involve Jabba the Hutt or Zero the Hutt or his family.
Well, I shouldn't say that they don't speak English. They don't speak a known language.
So some of them do, actually, because you've got Zero who speaks fine English.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be a hard sell. I don't find Hutts very interesting, and they're also not very visually fun to look at.
So in Legends, yeah, in Legends there actually was a Jedi that was a Hutt, and I forget his name, but we will probably never see that one on screen. But that would be interesting.
Yeah. To
see a Hutt with a lightsaber and just kind of using the Force and just kind of slugging around and.
Well, so my first thought was, how does a Hutt fight? And then I was like, wait, Jedi weren't originally supposed to be military. So.
You're right. They were peacekeepers.
That's kind of moot.
Yeah. And we got another one. Let's see. With the new galaxy, we've arrived in Ahsoka. I wouldn't mind seeing a show there, but I wouldn't want to have the Star Wars title. As in what?
To have like a story set there. But
okay.
Like kind of like it was Rogue One, a
Yeah.
Star Wars story.
Yeah.
It'd just be like, oh, we picked this location to set our new story in. So it's within the same universe, but it doesn't have like Star Wars in the title.
So the only thing that I'm afraid of, which I would be fine with, but also it's been done, is I don't want them to be like, hey, this is a new galaxy, let's go explore that. And in my mind, it would be like the final frontier. These are the voyages. Right? So yeah, so I'm just like, I don't know how it would feel like a Star Trek, Star Wars vibe show.
Yeah.
Just because if I want that, I would watch Star Trek.
Yeah.
With Star Wars, there's so much plot. There's so much to do with that. Yeah. So yeah, no, I wouldn't mind more projects like that. But speaking of more projects, the future of Star Wars is very interesting right now, just because we have the strike going on. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to get Skeleton Crew this fall. Probably not happening.
No, because we are in the fall. So.
Yep. Yep. So.
Has that finished production? Are they in post-production?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh,
Well, then that wouldn't really make sense because if they don't, because in post production,
no. I think they were just at the end.
Okay, so they haven't entirely
Right. And that's the same with Andor. They actually continued to film during the strike, actually. Yeah. And then there was also, because
well, during the actor strike, because the actor strike came second, the writers were first, and like Deadpool was still filming during the writers strike.
that was a couple of months ago. So I don't know where they are at now. They normally say, "Hey, we have finished wrapping" or something like that. They haven't said that yet, so I don't know.
Because as far as I understand, like the post production departments are not on strike.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Like films continued in production when the writers went on strike. They just couldn't, like with Deadpool, they could not make any alterations. But then the actors went on strike, so that stopped everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, they must not have completed production. Otherwise, they could be working in post production. Right now.
There you go. And because we were supposed to get that, and then early next year we were going to get Acolyte, in Andor season 2 later on, Bad Batch season 3, and then Tales of the Jedi season 2, and then we're still getting Outlaws. That game is still coming on time. Okay. Here we go.
Speaking of,
do you guys have faith in Acolytes? Seems to be a Kathleen Kennedy show only. This is from George Mendez Gonzalez. I do. I was very lucky to see the trailer at Star Celebration in London. And from what I saw, I'm telling you right now, fantastic. You had lightsabers, you had the Jedi Temple. I think a lot of people are so used to Jedi during the prequel era, or they're so used to, them fighting all the time because that's what we've gotten. But the High Republic is the era that this show is taking place. So this is when the Jedi are in their prime. They are not corrupted by the Senate, and they are doing what Jedi are supposed to be doing, which is keeping the peace.
Yeah, because we've only really known Jedi in their military kind of state.
Yeah.
I mean, it technically hadn't started in Phantom Menace, but I mean, you still had them fighting like the Sith.
Yeah.
So they were still battling instead of peacekeeping. Well, I guess that could be peacekeeping, but it didn't last long because it went all downhill from there. So we don't have much of Jedi not being fighters. So it'd be interesting to see what the Jedi used to be instead of just like the little stories that we've gotten here and there.
Yeah, and I think what's great is that it's not just being like, oh, here we go. They have the books that really build up the story of the Acolyte. And it's not said per se, but it's very hinted at that this will lead into the prequels. And we'll probably get Darth Plagueis and like kind of the origin story of why the Jedi stopped, doing normal Jedi things and they became corrupt by the Senate and everything. And that's really because of Darth Plagueis, because of Palpatine, and all that will lead forward. I know a lot of people want
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
I think he would make a great. They want it for young Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
That would be great.
That's the fan casting. I know that's what David he really, really wants that casting. I could see it happening.
I think Tom Hiddleston would do a great job in that role. It's kind of hard to tell based off of Loki because he's more mischievous instead of evil.
Yeah.
But like in Avengers, when he was under the control of the Mind Stone, he did get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But it's also still the Avengers, so it's a little campy.
Yeah.
Like intentionally. But like seeing his other projects and like his work in Crimson Peak.
Yes.
Like, he can go dark.
Oh yeah.
And he can do it really well.
I would just like an episode of where we have him, be like, "Ooh, I'm joining the dark side," and he's just in the mirror and he's just doing like his evil voice. So he's like, "I am the Senate. Do it." No, it's too low. Yeah. So I think that honestly would be funny. And then so the High Republic comics are great, but we need to see it on screen. I agree. That's basically what the Acolyte's going to be. It will continue. So the show is a continuation of the books. So think of it like a sequel to the books. If you read the books, go all the way to the end of where the books are, you will be caught up with the show. But also, I think the Acolyte will be nothing compared to what Ahsoka viewers are going through right now, to where if you really didn't watch Rebels or Clone Wars, you might be lost a little bit. But if you watch Acolyte, just the show on its own, I think you'll be okay. I don't think you'll be completely lost. I think there will be a reference here and there where you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But if you read the books, you'll understand it. So I think that's the big difference between shows that are taking place during the Skywalker saga compared to shows like this, just because they're in that. I think they kind of know that not everyone's a big. Again, I don't mind reading, and I know I got called on it a while ago, like people saying Colin doesn't read books. It's not that I don't mind reading books; it's that I like to listen to books on Audible. For example, I've listened to all of these certain point of view novels on Audible, and I'm telling you, one of the greatest experiences ever. Have you heard those novels like on Audible?
I have not.
Or okay, there is. So I'm going through the Return of the Jedi one. I'm almost done with it, but there's a story about the Sarlacc during the events of Return of the Jedi, and he is basically a vegan and a pacifist, and he doesn't like violence, and he sounds like Crush the Turtle. And there is a line from the book where he's like, "People need to stop putting other people in my mouth, man. Like, come on." And I'm just like, what is happening? What is happening right now? My wife and I were listening to that on our way to DragonCon in the car, and we just looked at each other and like, what is going on? So if you have a chance, go and check out that book on Audible. It's hilarious. And
I'm actually crying.
Yeah, no, it's just like what? But it's funny and it works. So if you haven't read the certain point of view books, check them out.
See, that's what I mean by like funny, I'm crying. That's what I mean by like funny, lighthearted stuff.
Yeah.
Star Wars. It's like it's goofy and it makes you laugh and it's fun. It's just silly fun. That is beautiful.
Well, there's another story from that book where it basically sounds like a pilot to a 90s show, but it's Max Rebo's origin story of getting the job to work at Jabba's palace, and he's running late, and they even got this kind of funny jazzy music of him on some type of speeder bike trying to get to like the spaceport. He's getting chased by space police that are like his species, and it's random, it's funny.
Okay,
I loved it.
Question about that then.
Oh no.
What language do they speak? Or does Max Rebo not speak in this?
So Max Rebo speaks Hortolin, but through the games and other projects, it does sound like he does speak English, and his voice, which is very interesting, has the it's kind of like what they did in Robot Chicken, that's not canon or anything anymore, but I don't think it was canon in the first place. But in the Lego game, he's got the same voice of where it's like, "Hey man, I have to get to my gig, man," and he like has like that deep voice, and
just like a chill jazz.
Yeah, man, come on.
Oh my god.
Come on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Why does that fit so well?
I'm telling you. Yeah. So if you guys haven't read these certain point of view novels or heard them on Audible, check it out because they're fantastic. And if you listen to them on Audible, they also have music in there. They have some of the sound effects, and I know there's a couple of stories of where it's like the pilots getting ready for the for the Battle of Endor, and then they actually get there. You actually hear like the like of them flying through and stuff, and it's awesome. It's fantastic.
Like full soundscape.
Yeah. So so basically, if you close your eyes, it's like you're watching a movie, but
Hey,
it's
guess
there.
what? That's what it's like reading a book.
Well, I feel like if you close your eyes, you won't be able to read the book, Ray.
Well, guess what? A book is a movie in your head.
Oh,
I've got a library.
Mind blown.
By your statement.
Mind blown. Just like the Death Star. There you go. Boom. Sorry, that was cheesy. Yeah. So the future of Star Wars is great, but also it's kind of unknown at this point.
Yeah.
So
I think it's gonna remain pretty unknown until the strikes are resolved. Just
Yeah.
because there's nothing that can be going into production.
Yeah.
And nobody can talk about what we're working on. So we're not really gonna have any idea about what's coming up and what's gonna survive pre-production or development or pre-production hell, whatever makes it through.
Yeah.
So
here's hoping that everything gets solved.
Yeah. Soon.
Please.
Because I want my content.
Right. And if it doesn't get solved, then we aren't gonna get amazing shows like Ahsoka anymore for a while, or we won't get the show Acolyte or Andor season 2 for a while. So please just
the powers that be.
Yeah. So
but you made the mistake of bringing it up earlier, so I feel free to talk about this.
Okay.
Speaking of Ahsoka,
Okay.
I am like low key rooting for Balin because
such a good character, right?
Ray Stevenson's Blackbeard from Black Sails is showing, and I absolutely adored his performance. Of Blackbeard in Black Sails. And he's just, it's like it's the same person. They have a lot of similarities, and I'm just watching him like, I miss Black Sails. I miss Black Sails so much.
He is such a great character too, and I remember hearing the news, and I was devastated because his character was his character that was pitched at Star Wars Celebration, like at the Ahsoka panel. I was over the moon. I was like, this is what Star Wars needs is not a Jedi. Like, and he's not full Sith, and I was like, I'm on board. Let's go. Let's do this.
He's very dynamic because, like, in the last episode when Shin asked if he missed the Jedi, and he said he missed the idea of it, I was like, wow, that's like really complex.
Yes.
And I'm like, I want to dig into that character a lot. So I'm wondering if there are other forms of media that we could get more of a backstory.
Right.
Like, you could do a book.
Yep.
Or something if we could get more of his story that way. But yeah, I'm just watching him and I was like, this feels like I'm watching Black Sails again in a way. And that show is so good. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Okay.
Completely off topic. It's pirate. It's a prequel to Treasure Island. So
okay. Well, I mean, hey, like, listen. So, pirates, Hondo Ohnaka. Boom. There you go.
There you go. That's why I like Hondo so much. This is a pirate. Pirates fascinating. But also, speaking of that last episode of Ahsoka, as someone who has not seen Rebels, I know I'm missing a lot of things, but I am still totally keeping up. Like, I don't feel like I know there's things that, like, there's little things that are probably like super important to other people that are happening and to me they're just like, okay, yeah. But I feel like I'm keeping up with everything.
Okay, good.
They're feeding me enough to where I know, like, Ezra and Sabine and Hera were like really tight, and like this is like very, very important to Sabine. So like I can keep up without having all the information, which is really cool. How they're doing it. So I mean, I don't know from the perspective of someone who has seen it if it feels spoon-fed at all. But I haven't really heard that it feels too spoon-fed. So I'm assuming they're doing really well on that. But we can talk about spoilers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when the camera turned around and he was just standing there, I was just like, Moses? thought he was gonna part the Red Sea. No, but if you look at his outfit and you look at the Prince of Egypt, he's in Prince of Egypt cosplay.
Oh.
They are wearing the same outfit.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. I see it. I see it.
Same facial hair.
Yeah.
It is like, oh, like somebody watched the Prince of Egypt and went, that I want that right there. And you know what? It works.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. But I saw him, I was like, is that Moses?
That's funny. Yeah, no, I think that's the first reference that I think I've heard about the Prince of Egypt, because I see it now. I love that he's wearing some type of chainmail underneath too. I think that was a nice touch, and now I'm curious of what that's made out of. But we have another comment from Jorge. What theories do you guys have with Balin? Is he trying to get into the world between worlds or something different? So there's a line in the new episode of where it kind of, I can't think of the main line of the direct quote, but basically he says a line that makes you think, oh, he just wants to knock out any power. Because of the line goes something on the lines of I don't want Thrawn to be in power, or something in the lines of that, where it hints that maybe he will kill Thrawn, and then that way no evil will come, and then the New Republic really doesn't come to be, because he doesn't want the cycle to continue. That's basically of what that line was saying, was he wants the cycle to end of where
one empire rises and then they fall, and then the rebels rise and then they fall.
Yes,
it swings back and forth, and I think he just wants a stable government.
Right. And we know he fails just because we have the sequels.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. There's that.
I also really want more information and backstory on Shin. She's fascinating.
Everyone does.
She's fascinating, and it is taking everything within my power to not build that costume.
I mean, do it. I mean, I honestly would. There was actually a new post by the official Star Wars account of where they actually they do a line from her when her and Sabine were fighting for the second time in the forest, and then they just show different clips, and it's just like, hey, here's Shin, check her out, and I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. But I would love a backstory of that character. I would love for them to do a other Clone Wars TV show where it would be maybe not about the Clone Wars, but maybe that same animation style, but they would just do a different part of the Clone Wars, and maybe Balin would be a good character for the Tales of the Jedi season 2. That would be very interesting.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's how we can get our backstory on him.
Yeah.
Do it animated.
Yeah. Because
that idea is free.
You're welcome.
Take it and run with it.
Because I know there was a other story that a lot of people really, really wanted to see on screen in some way, which was, how did Count Dooku, really turn to the dark side? And those 3 episodes that we got in Tales of the Jedi were just perfect. Yeah, Liam Neeson come back as Qui-Gon Jinn. You had his son play. You Liam Neeson's son play the young version of Qui-Gon Jinn, which was awesome. And then you actually get to see stuff that we only heard about, and you actually get to see it on screen. I was like, I would love to see that with other Jedi and other stories that we've heard, but I want to see it on screen. Having the story of Balin would be awesome. And maybe we see him fleeing Order 66, or we see him.
No, we do not need to see Order 66.
It's going to happen, Ray.
We've seen it so many times. I'm surprised we haven't seen it in Ahsoka yet. We're going to get it, probably.
I mean, I was kind of surprised that we didn't get in the flashback, but I'm glad for all the stuff that we got.
What has Dave Filoni touched that does not have a reference or flashback to Order 66.
Well, you're dealing with the Skywalker saga.
I know.
Everything's going to be connected.
See it every time. It's upsetting.
Well, it's going to happen. It's part of Star Wars history.
We
so
all know that it happened. Why do we need to keep seeing it?
because it makes you sadder when we learn more stuff about it.
Did you put that on our bingo card?
Order 66?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's got to be on every bingo card ever.
I know we just marked off Thrawn's ship. So, and then I think in the next episode is where we'll probably see his creature. It's a Salamari, and his lizard type creature can eat the Force pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you eat something that is not physical?
Because if you use the Force, and then he just absorbs it.
Oh, so it has no impact on him. He's like Force resistant.
Right. So
Gotcha.
my guess is that he would get that creature from the planet of Paradia, and then when Hezra and them try and confront Thrawn, and they try and use the Force, then he's like, "Hey, I've got my new sidekick here. Check this out." Because in Legends, that was a very strong take on a different way that the Force could be used, and it's a creature that is Force sensitive, which we've seen only a couple of times. But yeah, there you go. I see you're kind of losing yourself.
I'm just thinking a lot. Like, I have another question.
Okay.
Why every single time witches are brought up, Shin has a visceral reaction?
Yes, because I think to her, the story of the Night Sisters was a fairy tale, and then you're seeing a fairy tale right in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, there's more of them. This is a thing.
Well, then that leads to what we had talked about earlier with the biblical-esque movie of what are our favorite characters' fairy tales.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if we'll find out for certain why she has such a reaction.
Yeah.
Because she's hard to read, so it's hard to see if it's oh my gosh, witches are real.
Yeah.
Or is it oh my gosh, there are witches here. I gotta fight them, or I want to kill them, or what her reaction is to them. Essentially,
I like the situation that Shin's in because she's a Force wielder, but she's not a Sith and she's not a Jedi, and she's trying to find that balance. And I think I said that my theory is that I think Balin will he'll probably perish by the end of the show, or somehow he'll go into exile, and we probably won't see his character on screen again just because of everything that happened with him, of the actor. And then Shin will want revenge. She'll fall down the path of the dark side, and then maybe during the Dave Filoni movie is when she'll be like, you know what? No, I'm a Jedi. And then Ahsoka would teach her, because something that is kind of, to me, being pointed at is that Sabine is trying to use the Force. It's not working for her. And I think I would love for that story to be, I'm not a Jedi, I'm a Mandalorian. And then she falls hard back into her and into the ways of Mandalore. And then that would connect her going back to the planet of Mandalore and going to Bo-Katan and all that. And then that will lead into the big Dave Filoni movie, which is pretty much going to be the Star Wars version of the Avengers. I see that. I see that.
Are we on a timer?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. But yeah. All right. Star Wars thought of the week. What if? Ooh. Okay. Here's one.
Okay.
What if Anakin kind of came back during the events of Mustafar, where he was about to have his fight with Padme, right?
Mm-hmm.
but then he snaps out of it and he turns to Anakin again, and then he tries to flee with Padme. How do you think that would go, of where they would try and go and do the happy ending route instead of him?
Where do you think that like run away from all of the problems, like you'll find it isolated place in the galaxy?
Absolutely, yeah.
I see, that one's kind of hard because I don't know if Padme would do that or not.
She wanted that though.
Well, she wanted to go to Naboo to have like a nice quiet life on Naboo. I don't know if she would run away from everything because she fought so hard like in the Senate, and like that's why it was like, so this is how Liberty dies. Like she's watching everything she fought for collapse in front of her. So I don't know. It's hard to tell if she would just walk away from it all or if she would still want to try to fight it in any way she could.
Okay.
But yeah, when faced with that choice of like run away with me or not, it's hard to say.
I just broke Ray. She really likes Sabe, so I know like all the handmaidens, including Padme, are very important to you. So,
yes. Yeah, I don't know, man.
All right.
That's an interesting thought.
Think about it. Let us know what your thoughts are on that, guys. There you go. I'm going to break everyone.
And that's a threat.
No.
It's a promise.
No. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to our crazy thoughts for almost an hour. We would like to thank everyone who is on a Patreon. We would not be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much. And just for everyone that listens, thank you. This is so much fun. Oh my goodness.
You disconnected the camera.
I disconnected the camera.
Well, hey, guess what? This is a podcast, not a visual medium.
Oh no. Oh, maybe. Oh, okay. Well, there it is. Cool.
Different angles. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're on the outro.
There we go.
There we're back.
All right. So again, thank you everyone for listening to our chaotic thoughts. We're on YouTube. Thank you so much for everyone on YouTube right now. We're on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff. We're also on Twitter, also known as X now, at Stuff Pod. We're on Threads at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Again, we're on Patreon at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're on TikTok. I look at you because you're in charge of TikTok.
This is news to me.
What? Okay, well then you and I are talking afterwards. And we also have an email, Star Wars Stuff podcast at gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Star Wars Stuff group, and Star Wars Stuff podcast page. Please go and write us a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We love to hear your feedback. And we also have a website that the wonderful Ray has made, StarWarsStuffPodcast.com. And we're also on Twitch, Star Wars Stuff Gaming. Basically, if you go on any platform, you just type in Star Wars Stuff Podcast or something in the lines of that, and you see Max Rebo, that's how you know you're in the right place. There you go. With that being said, my name is Colin.
I'm Ray.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.
Do 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 do.